Welcome to our third session, and I'll be talking about how we adjust the geometric patterns and how we place them on our object. Before, I would like to back up and speak about the vest and the capes that I've done several dance bibs and a cape, a canoe cape, and they take a special measurement. Like you can't just measure around your neck when you're calculating those necklines and the start. So you're definitely going to have to pull it over your head for the dance bibs that have a continuous neckline. You need to have those pulled over your head. And so you need to measure the widest part of your skull. So, and then you need to get that number, and then you need to add, I would say at least 1.5 inches to that number, possibly maybe 2 inches to that number, because our objects that run around our neck are softened by looping it with a strip of fur. And so all of that along the neckline has got some fur looped to it, and that takes up space. So in order to get it over your head, you need to allow for the space of the fur. So that takes quite a good size neckline. And that's fine, just as long as you can get it over your head. But there are the times when you want to just make a vest, or like I did with my contemporary canoe cape. I knew I wanted it to be able to be put on like a shawl, yet have that central area that comes together with the design, yet opens up to be put on. So I just want to share that secret with you. What I did was I measured my neck, and it didn't really have to be the circumference of my head. So I worked on a tailor's mannequin where I could stick pins in to my mannequin, and it's a Nahin one. So I ran a very strong sinew. Well, it was fake sinew, but it was very strong, and it didn't have any give to it. The sinew that ran around that, and it was the heading cord. It started down the length of the cape and ran up here, ran around my neck, and then ran back down. And then I tacked another strong thread so that those ones that ran down my center here, which would eventually be the opening, that was tacked together. But I didn't weave past that area ever. I always turned at this area, right? So my weaving turned at the center, but it had side cords, and similar to the raven's tail, the 2 side cords. So it was where I turned around as far as the designing or the weaving. So that's another solution. But when you're doing tunics, dance tunics, it's the same as if you're pulling over a bib, a woven bib. You are going to take that tunic and pull it over your head. The front is woven separate to the back, right? But you do have this central area where your shoulders are, and your neck and shoulders are considered. And then at a certain point at your shoulders, then your warps are heading either to the front, or you're adding warps or having the warps go to the back so that there's a definite back and front panel. So when that happens, you do need to measure the circumference of your skull and have the ability to be pulled over your head. But many times, just to make the neckline less loose, they will measure further up your neck and then have a slit that opens enough to give that room to pull over your head. So in that case, it would be the same as when you're making a vest, or like I did with my contemporary canoe cape. You would make sure that you have a very strong heading cord, and then it would come. You would tack it, a temporary tack, and it would come down here, and then you would tack a very strong permanent tack down at the area where that slit is going to quit. Because as you pull things, you definitely don't want to rip things, right? So that temporary tack, maybe a few temporary tacks, and then at the bottom, it's a very strong, strong permanent tack that will pair the heading cord down to that area, and then after, and down at the length of the slit is where you're going to take the turns until you get to that permanent tack, and then you're weaving across your object again. And then you're gonna, when you're done, you put it on. That permanent tack is very strong, so it doesn't pull and pull apart, and so that would be how you would put a tunic on that hasn't given the neckline wide enough for your skull, that you would pull it over and have that extra space by having a slit down that center. So so now after discussing that, I'm going to go into how we adjust our geometric patterns and to fit the format, to fit the measurement. So that's what's coming up now.